Hi, everybody. So great to see you. It's so lovely to see all of your faces right in front of us. Welcome. This is Sex to Superconsciousness, merging your spirit, love languages, and your sex life. I can't think of anything else I'd rather be talking about tonight, or ever, really. So for those of you who have never met us, I'm Alicia.
I'm Erwan. Hey, hey.
And many of you here are in Mastery of Relationship. This is a session of Mastery of Relationship. So hello to all of you. And there's also many of you that are new tonight, or you're in a different program visiting. For those of you that are new, Mastery of Relationship is our weekly group online coaching class, and then every so often we open it up so people like you can come join us. So that's what you've walked into this evening. So this is how the evening's going to go. In a few minutes, we're going to start with a guided meditation for about 15 or so minutes. Sex and consciousness, especially super consciousness, it's all about feeling, all about presence, and all about being in the body. So we're going to start that off right with a guided meditation. Then we will continue to dive into the juicy topic of sex and super consciousness, love languages, communication, sex, spirit, all of it. There'll be a couple of fun exercises that we have you do. And for those of you that are new, there's something really awesome that we're going to offer you. So I'm excited for that. We're going to take some time for you to be able to ask us some questions or share with the group what's opened up for you. And that's always a really fun part of the night too. And we will end by around 9 p.m. Pacific. Now, I want to tell those of you that are new a little bit about Erwan and me and how we came to be doing this. And before I do that, I want to ask you to do something. So those of you that are new, I want you to chat in where you found out about this class. We always love to know. And it was really funny because earlier today, I noticed that 3 tickets were, the same person got 3 tickets to this event. And I was like, why is the same person getting 3 different tickets, right? So I emailed her and I said, hey, looking forward to having you. How did you hear about this class? And she's like, well, first, I was on your Sexy Singles meetup, and that's where I found out and I signed up. And then I'm on your email list, and I got this email today, so I signed up for that. And then my friend Jessica sent me the link later in the afternoon, and I signed up, and I had no idea it was the same. She was like, it all just sounded amazing, and I signed up. So I thought that was really funny. So chat in as broad or as specific as you want to be, like meetup or Facebook, or you could say, my friend Sue, or your email list. I see that a lot of you are doing that. Thank you. We really love to know that. So over the last 25 years, Erwan and I have really wanted to make sure that we steep our lives in sex and consciousness. So what we do, what we are devoted to, is supporting both singles and couples in unleashing your relationship potential. That is what we do. It's basically all we've ever done. Singles and couples both come to us for support in their love lives and their sex lives. Singles come to us that want to get into that soulmate relationship, juice up their dating life, gain some skills, to really succeed in the area. Couples come to us often to juice up the chemistry and the connection and the intimacy in their relationship. Lots of people come to us with psychological challenges, sexual challenges in the realm of romance. We all have those, and we address all of those. And we have a particular way that we like to address it. We really like to cover the full spectrum of what it takes to have a successful romantic relationship. So I'm going to go through our method, the Davon Method, which we have created to support you. So the method starts with bringing consciousness to our craziness, our hidden relationship patterns, right? We all look like this sometimes.
Right? Isn't there craziness in your relationship life? I know in our relationship life, we've been doing this for 30 years. We're pretty good at it. It's still crazy, right? Isn't there craziness in your head? It's just got all kinds of funny shapes, and you can kind of fill in the box there with whatever you like, and sometimes it looks like blame, and I don't know, what's this? Like, what is that?
This is like trying to figure it out incessantly and not being able to think our way through it.
That's usually me trying to figure it out. But yeah, I guess you're trying to figure it out sometimes too.
So consciousness, we like to start really clearing our minds of all that psychological stuff. The second part of our method is making deep contact with who we are. As we can see, this is who we are. When we know who we are at the core, our soul, our being, we're present in relationship.
And this is a big part of tonight's session because, there's a lot of places you can go for tips and tricks and stuff like that. And, some of them are better, some are worse, some of them are probably pretty good. But to really move your relationship life forward, there's no way without yourself with a capital S, your deeper self, your spiritual self, your true nature, your presence, your being, whatever you want to call it.
So once we've done that, and that is an ongoing process, but once you've really got a knack for that, enter chemistry, which is really what everybody's looking for. Everybody that I've ever talked to that wants to have an even better relationship life wants more chemistry, that juice, that polarity between you and another person. So that's a really big part of our method. How do you do that? Masculine, feminine dynamics, skills, communication, all of it.
If you're single, how do you create that in somebody else? How do you be more turned on yourself? If you're in a relationship, how do you have that honeymoon period not end but continue so you get more and more turned on? Since this is Sex and Superconsciousness, we're probably going to share about our sex today. So, just strap on your seatbelt.
The fourth part of our method we call choreography, which is dancing through the stages of relationship with ease, having skill in the initial stages, in the middle game, and the long game.
Now, I put this picture up of a woman carrying a box sort of moving in. I think it was me carrying my boxes moving into your house.
That is true.
But that was really challenging for me. Maybe you're that kind of person. Moving through the stages, you get challenged when it's moving in, or you get challenged around commitment, or maybe right in the beginning you get challenged about meeting somebody and kind of getting with somebody initially, or maybe you're good at some parts and not the other parts and all the rest of that. So that's here's where it ends up. We'll talk a little bit about that. And how do you have that be rocking? I'm going to curse, okay, like Joe Rogan. How do you have marriage be kick-ass? How do you have it be really juicy? How do you have it be really sexy? How do you have it be like this? We're going to get to the bottom of that tonight.
And the fifth part of our method, as everyone's alluding to, is cultivation of your sexual potential, which is also a really big part of our focus tonight. Your sex energy, that another piece of chemistry, how to really be turned on all the way through your sex center in relationship. So we're going to share a little bit about ourselves now, about our history, so you know where we were before we got here.
Boy, I don't know if I want to go there, but am I going there now?
We're going there,
All right,
baby.
I'm going there now.
Yeah.
So it started, for me, it was really a difficult start. It was a difficult beginning. Show you a picture of my teenage years. We'll erase the back part of the slide. We can't do that. We can do that. That's great. That's great. God, I love technology. Technology is awesome. So, my parents, their relationship was falling apart before I got started. And I'll skip the first 15 years, but at 15, I'm writing graffiti, I'm on the streets, my mom's gone, she's in another country. It's just totally crazy. It's completely insane. Let's just summarize it by saying it was a rough childhood. Now, if we fast forward, it got me into all kinds of good stuff. I moved into a yoga ashram. I eventually became director of that ashram. I got a degree in psychology. I lived in a Zen monastery. I did every possible type of workshop and seminar and rebirthing and therapy and trauma therapy and literally 15 years of psychoanalysis, multiple days per week. A lot of meditation. We're going to do some of that tonight. And that was awesome, and it really opened me up. But it conflicted with another part of my life, right? It conflicted with especially the ashram, they were really not into my sex life. But eventually I did settle down. And that proved to be just as sexy. It was really interesting to settle down and have it be as turned on as it was beforehand, because I was teaching sex seminars, right? So we settled down, we got married, we bought a loft. That's where we just led a demonstration of extended orgasm. When was that?
It was about 2 months ago.
About 2 months ago, we led a demonstration of extended orgasm. We're going to leave another one in December, January, shortly. So, it really kind of came all together, this sexiness, this juice, and this spirit. So I went from this to this. And tonight is really about putting it all together. And I'll tell you, going from this to this and keeping it just as sexy was really awesome, because it eliminated a lot of headaches. Maybe we'll talk about that too. We never know what's going to happen in the session, so maybe you'll hear about some of the headaches over here, but who knows? We'll see. So tonight's about putting it all together, keeping the juice in presence and consciousness and being and responsible living, not having that be boring, not choosing one or the other, but really having it all. So
I would say that my upbringing was nowhere near as dramatic as Erwan's, okay? Those of you that have been working with us for a long time, you know that, right? I mean, if you imagine the most stable, loving family environment, that was how I grew up. I grew up in this beautiful town. It's called Palos Verdes. It's a suburb of LA, and had this very loving, stable family. Here we are, go 1980s. That was us. It was awesome, and I'm very grateful. However, despite the fact that it was awesome and stable, I also ended up in therapy by the time I was in college, right? So there's no escape. And really the long story short was that, as nice as my life was growing up, I didn't really learn how to deal with challenge very well. And there I was kind of sitting in my dorm room at college at UC Santa Barbara, and was like, I don't know who I am or how to make friends. I don't know what to do with this roommate here. I don't know. And I was kind of going into an anxiety and depression hole of sorts. And I remember sitting on my dorm bed and calling my mom and I don't know what to do. And so she found me a therapist. Now, here's what's interesting. I went into my first session and we were talking about how it would all go. And she said something really interesting. She said, okay, so if we see each other outside of the office, how do you want to handle that? And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean?
Say hi?
Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean?
Wave?
She's like, I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, if we see each other at the grocery store, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know. Say hi. And she's like, I suggest we don't acknowledge each other, to keep our relationship in the room only. And I remember thinking, okay, there's some value in that. I understand that. But it just always rubbed me a little funny. I went along with it. I went through therapy. Therapy was great. It really helped me to the point where I was like, I want to help others. I went through a master's program, got my degree, trained as a therapist, but it always kind of stuck with me. I'd like something a little out of the ordinary when supporting people. I don't really want a locked in a room, 50-minute kind of thing, okay? So when I met Erwan, which is a whole story of how we met, but I remember visiting one of the courses that he leads, that we now lead together, the pleasure course, and it was like all this deep work was going on, right? People were just transforming their love lives and their sex lives and crying and laughing and discovering. But at the same time, we could like socialize and hang out, right? Like the living room turned into a party at the end of the pleasure course. And I really liked that. So fast forward about 20 years, which is how long we've been together, we've created a teaching community where deep work happens. But we can have a drink together, right? I mean, as evidenced by many of you were at our backyard cocktail party this past weekend. We were hanging, we were having drinks, and it was a great time. Some of you in Mastery of Relationship might recognize yourself in these awesome pictures.
Here's everybody's true nature. Yeah. Now, you know, it's funny because I had a sort of a similar experience. Karen, my psychoanalyst, once out and about, we were both ended up eating at the same restaurant, you know, and the truth is I did feel kind of awkward and she handled it perfectly. You know what she did? She winked like that.
That's
it was
good.
Great.
That's really good.
So, you know, we've tried it all. You know, we've tried just about every possible thing in the world. Some of it was pretty bizarre and far out and crazy. You know, some of it was really sexy. You know, some of it was really good. It was all kinds of stuff. And tonight we're going to get to the best parts of it, like the peak of life, relationship, experiential life, like totally connected with another human being, head center, heart center, body center, and sex center. And to have the beings connected, the spirit, right? So there's one field of relationship. And we invite you to dive into experiencing that tonight. We didn't tell you all these stories just for fun and entertainment, but to really just kind of be with each other and share and, you know, let yourself feel it. You know, let yourself really experience all of that. And I want to dedicate tonight's session. There was somebody very, very dear to me who died on Monday. And he was one of my teachers. His name was Brian Regnier. And I used to teach for EST a long time ago. And this was the guy who took care of the EST teachers. And that was a really long time ago. Some of you don't know what EST is, but EST was EST. And you know, it was far out and crazy. And some people liked it and some didn't. But anyway, Brian was a giant. He really was a giant. He really was a rock star of love and transformation and being. And, you know, I just love him. He died of Parkinson's disease on Monday, and he didn't suffer. That's, you know, try to wrap your head around that for a minute, right? This, like how he looked in that picture, that's how he was to the end. So tonight we're dedicating to Brian. We're going to jump into the deep end of the pool now with some meditation. So let yourself get in your most upright posture, spine straight, long spine, and relaxed, right? You're looking for that upright posture that's also relaxed. We're going to start with superconsciousness. Your posture helps your superconsciousness. Most of you are on video. Some of you have shared that you couldn't be because of, you know, you're feeling ill or you're finishing your dinner or something like that. Thank you for sharing. But just like being on video helps your presence, your being, our connection, your posture does as well. So let your posture be upright. Let your posture be vertical. Let your spine reach for the sky. And let your lower body descend. We're not getting ready for meditation here. Addressing your posture is a whole form of meditation itself. All right, Hatha yoga, most people just say yoga, but it's really a subset of yoga called Hatha yoga, postural yoga, is all about presence in your body, consciousness in your body. It's good for your health, but more important, it's good for your awareness. Good for your heart. But maybe most importantly, addressing your posture concentrates you. Yoga, or Hatha yoga, it's really oriented around concentrating a human being so that the thoughts in your mind don't distract you. Let those thoughts come, let them go. You don't need to avoid them. They're going to come up anyway. But you don't have to hit subscribe to your thoughts. There's never been a true thought. Thoughts are just thoughts. They're great, but they're not the truth. They're a point of view, a perspective, sometimes a judgment. Let yourself go beyond your thoughts. We'll start with your body. So your spine is upright and vertical. Your body's also relaxed. When your concentration wavers, you just bring it back. And you enter a state of concentration. Everybody's concentration wavers, that's fine. What's important is that you bring it back. Keeping your attention in your body. And nowadays, this is a very big deal because there's never been a period in human history when people have been so distracted, when people have had so little ability to concentrate. Concentration is a step toward meditation. It's a step towards happiness. If you're an Aborigine in the desert, and you have maybe 4 or 5 conversations in a day, and mostly you're walking around feeling your feet, you're just naturally concentrated. If you're a man or a woman in December 2021, with cell phones and this and that, and video this and that, and work this and that, and pandemic this and that, and politics this and that, the drift is not towards concentration, it's towards being distracted. So we have to build that muscle. To get tonight's sexy topic done, spiritual topic done, we need to be concentrated. You'll get as much out of tonight as you are concentrated, as your attention is focused. Start with your body. It's fine if you have an old body or a young body or a middle-aged body. It's fine if your body's in pain. It's fine if your body's experiencing pleasure. It's fine if your body's in a neutral state. But whether you're concentrated or not is a huge difference maker tonight and in your life in general. And your body's going to serve as an anchor. So keep your attention in your body, but use that as an anchor. so that you can open to your experience. Instead of being distracted by thoughts and images and representations of things and things that are not actually happening, let yourself notice your experience. Let yourself feel your experience. Let yourself sense your experience, because your experience is happening. It's fine if your experience is pleasurable or painful or neutral or confused or clear or really whatever. That's fine. One thing I learned in the Zen monastery is it doesn't matter what you're experiencing, but it does matter whether you're open to it as it is. Let yourself breathe into your experience. Now, you're a human being. That means you're smart. Right? Human beings are smart. But that also means that you can get lost in thought. So your body is an anchor to keep you grounded in your actual experience, versus drifting off into fantasy or concerns or thoughts or things that are not happening. Use that anchor. Lean on your body. Feel your body. It's a pathway to your heart. It's a pathway to your sex center. It's a pathway to your spirit. And we'll do a little bit of Reiki and breathing. You don't need to know what that is. It's not particularly intense, but it will intensify your experience. And the way to do that is just breathe a little bit deeper, a little bit faster. A little bit deeper, a little bit faster. Those of us in Mastery of Relationship, you'll recall we started this last week. A little deeper, a little faster. Feeling the breath begin in the belly and the pelvic bowl, come up to the chest. And exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. A little deeper, a little faster. The inhalation is from the belly to the chest. The exhalation is through the mouth. You just give it away. And notice that will intensify your experience. We're not moving away from your experience. We're actually going into it, the pleasure of it, or the pain of it, or the sensations, or the emotions. We're going into it, but we're not going into the thoughts, the judgments, the interpretations. And just keep intensifying your experience with your breath. Notice what happens as you surrender to your experience. Your posture supports your experiencing. Your breathing supports your experiencing. You've given up the mind and its control and trying to change it. You let the thoughts come, you let them go, but you're just going more and more into your experience. Notice how that is. And I'd like you to bring your focus, your concentration to a particular part of your experience, which is your experience in your pelvic bowl and your pelvis. Even right at the base of your pelvis, your sex center. Letting your experience be very focused. Breathing right into the sex center. Right into your genitals. It's fine if they feel excited and turned on. It's fine if they feel numb. It's fine if they're in pain. It's fine if you feel nothing there. But just bring your attention right there and notice what the experience is like. And notice that this focusing of attention increases experience in your sex center. Notice that you have a dial and you can increase your experience in your genitals. You can increase your sexual experience. You can't control it. You can't say, I want to have this sexual experience, or I want to be really turned on, or I want to be really whatever, but you can increase the amount that you're feeling your sex center, that you're sensing your sex center. Your consciousness can meet your sex. Tonight's not about a big insight. It's about your consciousness meeting your sex and them having a love affair together. It's all kinds of words, kundalini practice, bringing the sexual energy up the spine, and tantra, which is that spirituality is not divorced from manifest reality. Spiritual reality is not in some other plane or dimension. It's right here in your life and your body and your feet and your sex. And, nowadays, on the internet, yoni, which means, I'm going to use a technical term, pussy, is trending. There's all kinds of terms. But what's most important is that you're experiencing it. And when do we want to be experiencing that? Now. Consciousness meeting sexuality now. Now, that may be turning you on a little bit. That's fine. It's really okay. We're all doing this together. It's fine if it's not. But consciousness in your sex center does tend to get things kind of moving and shaking, or it at least leaves you in a sensitive state that if, somebody flirts with you or puts their hand on your lap or something like that, like, woo, something does start to shake. Or you have a sexy thought. So let this deepest dimension of life, we could call it life or being or consciousness or spirit, superconsciousness. I love that, right? So juicy, superconsciousness. Let that meet your body, even your sex. Let the breath begin in the pelvic bowl. Let the love of consciousness, the love of the heart, let that meet the most visceral, the most instinctual, the most manifest. We're going to wind this meditation down in about a minute. But just before we do that, let yourself kind of push your genitals out and pull them in a little bit. There's a term in the West, a kegel, which is kind of clenching your genitals. I don't know if there's a term for pushing them out. It's what we do when we go to the bathroom or when there's an orgasm. The genitals release, they push out and they contract, and they push out and they contract. Those are involuntary contractions during an orgasm. But let yourself just do some voluntary contractions, pushing out and pulling in, and just kind of getting acquainted with that part of yourself. That's a very important part of yourself for tonight's topic, because tonight it's kind of like an arranged marriage between your consciousness and your sex. A meeting of two very complementary parts of yourself. But they've been estranged. So be a good host as your attention meets your sex. And just let yourself have that experience, however that is for you. Now, as your eyes slowly open, see if you can stay with your sex center. We're doing that with you. You're in the safety of your home. It's okay. See if your attention can stay in your sex center as your eyes open. That's more challenging. Okay, so we're going to go very slow tonight so we can build it in a real way. Not some big insight and not some irresponsible sexual experience, but things really coming together. All right, so just staying with your sex center, your eyes are open. Notice how that feels in your body. It's a whole form of yoga called Kundalini yoga that's about that, which moves, circulates the energy. We'll do a little bit of that later. Stay with your breath. So now that your body-mind, your vehicle, so to speak, is aware and alert here, right? You're not distracted by judgments and thoughts and all the rest of that kind of stuff. You're concentrated in your body like that. Well, another part of experience in the world is romance and relationship, right? That's a big part of tonight, actually. And the biggest determinant in things getting romantic and things coming together that way is that she ends up turned on, right? And if you're the woman in the relationship or the feminine in the relationship, that you're turned on. That's a really big part of romantic connection. And the she is usually a woman with a man, but it doesn't have to be. It could be, the she could be a man with another man, right? Brian was gay, who we're dedicating tonight's session to. His partner, Tobin, awesome, close friends. It can be a lot of different ways. Be transgender, it can be 18 different ways, right? Ways that we don't even know about. But if it's a romantic relationship, there is a polarity. There is difference between the partners, so that energy is moving, that energy is flowing, just like a battery you can see here, right? If the battery had 2 positive poles or 2 negative poles, it doesn't move, doesn't flow. You need that difference. You can see on one side of the screen the energy feels a particular way. On the other side of the screen it feels different. If we bring the 2 sides together, something magical happens. You let yourself feel that in your body.
When I met Erwan, I loved many things about him. He's generally an awesome person, so many great things about him. And one thing I loved in particular is that he knew that I wanted to be turned on, and he knew how to turn me on. He was really, really good at it. There was something, and I think it's like this. When we fall in love with somebody, we really fall in love, with it all. We fall in love with them, and we also fall in love with the way we feel around that person. And around Erwan, I loved the way that I felt, really turned on. I mean, he was so good. I would go to his apartment and he would just be so with me, like my light yellow sundress. He'd be like, wow, I really like this fabric. This is really gorgeous. Or wow, your earrings. Or he was just so, I remember one time, those of you in Mastery of Relationships, some of you may have heard about this painting that he did because I shared about it a while ago. But he got up from the couch. We were hanging out to use the restroom, and I was looking around his living room, and I saw this painting that he was in the middle of, and it was this picture of two lovers. I'm going to show it to you, actually, and they had motorcycle helmets on, and they were like obviously in love, connecting.
Now this, I didn't paint this. This is the this is the album cover that I painted it from. Now we should show them the actual painting tonight. We'll show you the painting tonight.
We'll show it to you. We'll find it. And he was in the middle of this painting, so I'm like looking at it, and that turned me on. I was like, so turned on. Now, the good news about being turned on as a woman is that somebody can turn you on. You can also turn yourself on your own, or when you're interacting with the person. Just today, Erwan and I were together, and we were talking, and we were preparing for being with all of you, and I just loved some of the things he put together in our presentation here, and I wanted to just turn on and show him, so I looked at him straight in the eye, and I was like, baby, you're so creative. I love this. And I just beamed him, and I just wanted to be turned on, and he was like the willing recipient. He's like, this is great.
I wanted to find a painting. She interrupted that. She's very responsible for being turned on. You might have. She's giving me all the credit, but she's very responsible for turning. I'm looking for the painting, and she's just like, bring your attention here.
Yes, and we have that power as women. A lot of women come to work with us, and they're like, I want to be turned on. I want to find my desire, and it's in you, and there's ways to access it. It doesn't have to always be that another person is kind of causing that in you, right? So that's a big part of romance, sex, and being conscious, is that turn on, and the feminine is really turned on.
Oh, I want to find that painting. I'm gonna find it. No, I'm not gonna find it.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna find it for you at some point tonight. All right. So to continue, if you look at this slide, this is an ancient practice of spirituality and sex together. In fact, initially, the oldest archaeological finds are of, not dinosaur bones, I'm not talking about that, but humans are of sexual organs and people who are in different kinds of sex acts, right? It's a very, very ancient realization that for the last couple of thousand years, we've kind of gotten a little bit away from. But we're coming back to that tonight. Attention is key. So really keep your attention in your body. Keep your attention in your sex center. Something magical happens when consciousness meets sex. And it's not abstract. It's not an insight. It's really letting consciousness meet sex. And that consciousness is always now. It's not an insight. It's not something that's going to happen later. For tonight's event, the objective of tonight's event, I'll read it to you. Everyone has a deep spiritual experience and sexual experience, if I can be so forward, and experiences them as one. And that can't happen at some other point in time. There's not some insight, that's going to produce that. It's actually that coming together. Now, the Zen of it is that you don't have to be in any particular sexual state of turned on or turned off or this or that or, bodily state or anything like that. The The Zen realization is being with things as they are. And if you can be with your sexual center as they are, as it is, you'll notice there's a fountain of energy, of life, that does become a fountain of turn on, maybe in the moment right now, as it did for me when Alicia kind of like, I was looking for the painting and Alicia she literally looked at me and put her hand on my leg, because I was ready, I was available for that, right? Because of all that feeling. So just let yourself stay in that not abstract state, right? The real state of experiencing your full self, the full spectrum. Tonight's a full spectrum kind of event. Your attention will go away from your genitals, just bring it back, and we'll slowly build it as the night goes on.
And this is possible, as we've been saying, as a couple. Many of you here are couples, and you can experience this together, but also as singles. Now, as couples, many of you have learned the touching practices that Erwan and I teach you. And this morning, we were engaged in our sensual touching practices, right? Which, it's sensual touch. It's even sexual touch most of the time. And it's equally meditative.
We do have a picture for this, actually. It's not X-rated. It's probably not even R-rated, so we're going to show it to you.
So what it looks like when we're doing our sensual practice is something like this. Now, we ordinarily do not have an audience, okay? Here, we're doing a demonstration in front of a group. But normally, it looks something like this. Erwan's sitting up, I'm laying down. He's got full access to my genitals, my pussy, my clitoris, okay? So this morning, we were laying there, and you know how our minds are, right? It's like when we're meditating, we need to bring our attention from our thoughts into that anchor point, our breath or a mantra. It's the same thing with sensual practice. As Erwan stroked, my attention went from thoughts right into his finger and the point of contact between his finger and my clitoris. And the experience when I felt that stroke was like bliss. Not just in my body, but with everything. And that's what's possible when we rebring together consciousness and sex. And as a single person, let's say maybe you don't have someone to practice this type of thing with all the time or at all right now. This is kind of going on all the time. I mean, if you just notice it, walking down the street, there's men, there's women, there's energy. And you can just feel that and notice it with a glance in your interactions with the person that's serving you your coffee. I mean, Erwan and I both do this all the time in appropriate ways, right? I mean, we have this our plumber, Frankie, when he comes over. I love Frankie, he's super cute and he's got this beautiful Irish accent and it's, he's got his own relationship, whatever. But I'm not like, okay, the plumber's here, whatever, here's the problem, bye. But I'm like, hey, wow, that's awesome. I love that you're fixing this. And I chat with him a little bit. And there's this very subtle, nice level of that feeling. When we go to restaurants and let's say the server is a woman and Erwan does not hesitate to, really enjoy that masculine, feminine interplay and that energy at that nice, appropriate, subtle level. As a single person, it's happening everywhere, all the time, and you can enjoy it.
Alicia's right. Every interaction is an opportunity to experience that, especially if it's somebody who is the gender that you're attracted to. Right, every single opportunity. And if you're single, so don't think that I can't practice, I don't have somebody to practice with. Every person is an opportunity to practice with, especially the gender that you're attracted to. And if you're in a relationship, be careful, because if you think I like the plumber, I shouldn't feel anything, I can't feel that, and you turn that off, you'll also be turning it off to your relationship partner. Now, that doesn't mean you should go do anything with the plumber.
Got the communication, don't worry.
But, you need to let your experience happen. right? That's one of the most important points tonight, is to be open to your experience as it is. Another big point tonight is to let that experience sink all the way down through your body into your sex center. When? Now, right? Now, not later. You want to have a great sex life later? You want to have a great sex life in a year? You want to have a great sex life now? We're not having sex. I'm not stroking her clit. We're not having intercourse right now. But this is a great sexual relationship we're having now. You're welcome into that field. It's something that's really actually happening all the time. And when you acknowledge it, boy, it starts popping. Boy, it starts moving, whether you're in a relationship or single. So feel your body, feel your sex. Now, let's talk briefly about love languages as we're feeling our bodies and our sex. There's a lot of different love languages, right? What are the 5 that have really been highlighted recently? Chat them in, if you will. You all did awesome chatting things in earlier. I'm going to open up the chat. What are the 5 love languages? The commonly known ones. And if you're not sure, take a stab at it. See what you think. Gift giving, acts of service, touching, great, physical touch, quality time, words of affirmation, awesome, great. Gift giving, maybe I said that. Compelling conversation, it's great. You nailed them. I'm going to put them up here. And you even went beyond what's on the screen here. These are the 5 commonly known ones. And these are beautiful because they bring consciousness and being into life, into relationship. And the one that, in our opinion, is obviously missing, and some of you alluded to it, is sexual attention. Sexual attention is the obvious missing love language. You could say that's in touch, but I'm not sure. The body center is a little different than the sex center, right? There's the heart center full of love and being. Yeah, awesome. Thanks. I should have cleaned the slides up earlier here. We'll even make this slide bigger for you. Great. There's the what am I talking about?
You're talking about it's not just physical touch as the love language, but
right? So there's the body center. See keeps track of things and keeps me sane. The body center, the heart center, the mind, they're very different, but the sex center is different than all of that. And women are usually kind of tuned into that. They usually kind of sort of intuitively know that. For guys, often it's a little bit of a mystery. But tonight is about really, incorporating that love language, right, into your life. Love, spirit, being, with sex. And that addressing it, acknowledging it, is extremely important. And the only time you can really do it is now. So let yourself feel that, right? You don't have to be super turned on. You don't have to be turned off. Sometimes people feel like they have to. We're in a seminar, I need to be turned off. Or we're in a sex seminar, I need to be turned on. Or I'm with my boyfriend, I need to be turned on. Or I need to be turned off, whatever. Just letting yourself really be right where you are, and notice that does tend to increase turn on, but it doesn't do it in an irresponsible way. It does it with consciousness. It does it with heart. It tends to flow naturally in a good way. Now, you're also in the safety of your home, and you can get as turned on as you want tonight. So we're going to do a few practices now, and let yourself come back into that posture. We'll put a little bit of music on. We'll take the guided meditation a little bit deeper. We're going to do some really fun exercises after this too. But what I'd like you to do now is not go back to where we ended the last meditation, because hopefully you've sort of stayed with yourself and even increased that. But incorporate the topic, right? This polarity, this difference, this romance, this sexuality that does require an other, right? Consciousness doesn't require an other, right? In consciousness, there are no others. But sexuality does. So let yourself visualize whatever that other is that you're attracted to. You might remember earlier, I'll even put it on the screen again. Maybe your eyes are closed. You can keep them closed if you want, or you can open them. You know, that same sex or other sex, but that other polarity, that masculinity, that femininity, let yourself visualize it. Let yourself feel your own masculinity and femininity, or femininity. Everybody's got a little bit of both. You know, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole and politically correct stuff tonight. Everybody's got both, right? But let yourself feel where you orient and what you like. So you're feeling yourself and you're visualizing that other that you're drawn to, interested in. And now that you're feeling both, right? We've gone beyond where we went in the guided meditation earlier. You're feeling both now. Let yourself circulate that energy. Let yourself breathe it up your spine. That's Kundalini yoga. They tend to leave it up in the spirit, beyond the head. But we're actually also going to bring it down. Let yourself also breathe it down, back through the head and the heart and the belly and the sex. Inhaling up the spine, exhaling down the front. On the screen, you can see two partners doing it with each other. You can do it with another person, you can do it with yourself, but you're breathing up the spine, down the front. You're letting that polarity happen. You're embracing that polarity. Let it move through your sex. Let it move through your heart. Let it move through your very being. Let polarity or difference or sexiness, I could use graphic terms if you'll permit me, your pussy, your cock, turn on. Let that move through your consciousness. And then even let your genitals push out and pull in, creating some voluntary contractions. Pushing out like you're bearing down or going to the restroom, pulling in like you're doing a Kegel, just kind of playing with that. We're all doing it together. And notice that, wow, you can increase your sexual experience. Experience means consciousness. It also means the body or manifestation. You can increase it. You can increase it as much as you want to. We've got 70 people here tonight. Like, we're all doing it together. That amplifies it. Use that. Embrace it. Don't let your inner critic get in the way. Just play with it. It's safe. It's in the privacy of your own experience, even your own home. Maybe your genitals start to not only voluntarily contract as you push them in and push them out and pull them in, but maybe some involuntary. Maybe they start to vibrate a little bit on their own. That's orgasm. If that involuntary movement continues, that's extended orgasm. Don't worry if it's as big as the orgasm you usually have and all that. If you acknowledge it, it will increase. We'll just go for about another 30 seconds. Really pump the energy into your genitals, your sacrum, up your spine, above the head, down through the face and neck and heart and belly. Using the genitals as a pump back into the sex center. Let sex meet consciousness. Let yourself go from sex to superconsciousness. The secret is allowing your experience to be as it is and including your sex center. Those are the two secrets. Those will take you very, very far. We're going to wind this down, but let yourself stay in this amplified state, this more open and experiencing state, this state that includes your sex more in whatever state you are in.